Good morning, followers of Christ. I hope that all is well. If not, just pray through it and God will see you through it. It's been a while. A lot has been going on. There has been so much um, happening. God's been operating. And so I have not been posting, but I have been reading and I have been seeking. Now, I'm not going sugarcoat this. June has been a very tough month. Um, I have done a lot of. I've gotten sidetracked, to be honest. When it comes to me focusing, seeking God in my life, a lot. You know how it is when things get put on your plate. And it just keeps piling, 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 and you think you can handle. You think you can handle. You realize you are not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So that's been my June. However, update, everyone has transportation now. Like I said, God provides our needs. So God has completed that journey, that mission, that what is it? Trial for me and my family. And it has been, y'all been seeing the videos, I've been talking about it, how he allowed things to happen, he moved things around, and how he was very strategic in how he command me to move, how he had me operating in order to make sure that not just me getting a vehicle, but everyone in my immediate family that needed a vehicle got a vehicle. So with that being said, we have another vehicle down. It's not even one of the cash vehicles. It's one of our more newer model vehicles, but we are very certain that God is going to see us through that as well. I think this will be a testament to us being obedient. Just 100% trusting Him, 100% following Him, and doing exactly what He's shown us He's capable of doing over these last, well, it's been a year now because July's here. So, with that being said, that's that quick update. Now, let's get to why I am here, why we are having this moment. Yeah, I know I've been stuck in Isaiah, and I was reading um 30 through, I'm say 30 through 38 is the broad range over the last month. I've been going back and forth through those chapters. And the reason why I wasn't sure as to why, but it's so relatable to what's going on right now. We're in war. During that time, there was a bunch of wars going on. Not wars, battles, going on, man-made wars and battles. God was angry about it. God was saying, this is, I'm going to smite these people down. I'm going to take these people. I'm going to destroy this land. I'm going to destroy that land. It's not even going to be fit to grow crops and things. And I was thinking about that, and I kept going back to that um, because along my reading, somewhere I lost the origin of what transpired, what triggered this. Not why God is doing what He's doing, but what did man do to put this in play. And in chapter 30 of Isaiah, it says that you started this war without me. You created this plan. You're going through with a plan that is not mine. And because of that, this is what you've done, not only to you, but to your people. And it was a very eye opener because a lot of times when we think about God, the love, Jesus, the compassion, we forget about the side, the protector side. So in order to be, you know, when you're protecting something, there is a side of you that protects not just from a nurturing standpoint, but from a warrior standpoint. There's a side of you that has to have a bravery that is necessary in order to make sure no harm comes to those that you're protecting. And it can be seen as anger, it can be seen as rage. Some people call it psychotic. But in the moment, in the heat of protecting your loved ones, that is what is, the fight or flight. That is the emotion that is fuel in order for you to do what you feel is necessary in order to, make sure everyone's safe. Now, with that being said, I kept going back and forth, and I kept reading over and over. And God showed me something, and it wasn't just from reading. I'm not going, I had been looking at all these news feeds on well, not, scrolling past news feeds about this new understanding the word of God, like these little pamphlets and cheat sheets and things. And it basically takes the story of God or the stories in the Bible and explain them so that we understand the why. Because, we're in a generation of why this, why that, why that. We're always questioning and asking why things have to happen. And so with a collaboration of, they made a comment that triggered my mind, that made me look deeper into my thought and my meditation with God. And God came back in this, and he put it as plain as white piece of paper. God said, I create wars to destroy evil. And he asked the question, why do man go to war? God go to war to destroy evil. So why does man go to war? What are we at war for? What are we fighting for? What is so important in our lives, or so important in what we're doing, that we can't come to a reconciliation amongst one another, that we have to fight in order to take ownership, to take possession of what we're fighting for? Like, that was very powerful. I was like, okay, so man goes to war to take ownership. The problem is, like in Isaiah, they went to war without seeking God. So first of all, before you go to war to fight for something that you want, you better make sure that it's yours to take in the first place. Because if not, if you're taking something that don't belong to you and God has to intervene, now you've caused yourself to be put in a position to be destroyed by the Almighty, because you're taking something that don't belong to you. You're putting yourself in a position to be punished. You're putting yourself in a position to lose a battle that was never yours in the first place. So you got to be careful when you go on to war to take possession and ownership of things. You really want to make sure that you are doing what is necessary for what God has for you. It is important that he is in all things that we are doing in life, including when we're fighting our battles. And that's why I tell people all the time, like, certain battles in my life I don't fight, because it's not my battle, it's not my war, and I dare not get in God's way. I dare not try to take something that don't belongs to me. And that goes from jobs, food, houses, property, money. It don't matter. I don't want anything that don't belong to me. Because if I got something that don't belong to me, that means somebody else is doing without. And I know what it's like to be without. I know what it's like to have things taken from you that are yours. And you did everything, all the hard work, all the effort, all the strength you put in it in order to grow it, groom it, produce it, just so it to be taken away or given away to somebody else without your permission. And to have to fight to get that back, it can be, if it's yours, the fight will be pretty easy, because when you put work into something that's yours and someone tries to take it, you're going to give it your all to get it back, because you put your all in it to make it in the first place. But when you're going after something that is not yours, that's not meant for you, your fight is different. And you know it. You know your fight is going to be different. You know that your behavior is going to be out of character. You know that you're going to do things that are not pleasing, because you're having to go around and manipulate how you retrieve something that is not yours. I've never been a believer in stealing. I never um, thought it was okay to steal anything. And so um I'm very careful about how I operate in life. Like, even if I find money on the ground, I don't just pick it up like, oh my God, that's a blessing. I first look to see, I do my due diligence. Sometimes I even go to the point where I take it back in the store, and first people say, well, they probably not gonna get that. I can't be accountable for what they choose to do. That is on them. I can only be accountable for what I choose to do. And at this moment, this is what my heart says is right, is to take it back in here to this store in case someone comes back looking, because I've been that person that dropped money and went back in and went to the counter and say, did anyone turn in money? Did anyone find X amount of dollars? And there's been times where they actually said, oh, can you verify how much it is? And I was able to verify it and get my money back. And there's times where I wasn't able to do that. So I've been in those places. I've been in those shoes to where taking something that's not mine is not beneficial to me. I've been in those places where getting something that belonged to me, that rightfully belonged to me, was very beneficial to me. So when you're going to war, when you're going to battle, when you are standing up with all your strength and all your might to fight for something, make sure you're fighting for what belongs to you. Make sure you're fighting for that ownership, because because when it's yours, God is gonna back you. He's going to stand with you. Sometimes he'll tell you to sit down and let me take over. I'm gonna get you what's yours, because God is gonna always make sure you have what you need. He's gonna always make sure that you are provided for. And sometimes I think we forget that you don't have to go to war by yourself, but make sure that you're not picking a reason to go to war for something that's not yours, and you're not fighting battles that aren't yours, because it can lead to the destruction of both good and evil when we go to war against God's will, against his plan, and without him in the mix of what's going on. So that was the first thing that I realized in reading 30 through 38. Well, then as I kept reading on through, I'm strolling on through, and I was like, okay, Lord, I got that one. You go to war in order to destroy evil. Man, we have to be careful, because we're going to war to take possession, but you better make sure it's on it. So I locked it in. Well, then we transition over into understanding, who are we relying on? Who are you relying on? There's a chapter in Isaiah in which the king of Assyria is trying to get Hezekiah and the people to rely on them in ways to where they're like, oh, we're going to provide you this, we're going to give you this, we're going to protect you, we're going to do this and that. Be careful who you rely on. And the reason why you got to be careful with who you rely on is because even relying on yourself can cause you a shortfall. God does put people in our life, but it's not to rely on them. God put people in your life so that you are blessed, so that you can bless them, so that you guys can grow and strengthen from each other. But a lot of times we get so, especially within our village, we get so comfortable. It becomes so easy to constantly go to that person or go to those in our village, to the point that we honestly think that's where our help comes from. We forget the origin of the help came from God sending them to us, or placing us in the presence of them as part of our village. And then we become to the point where we're relying on them to the point that we are not benefiting them or ourselves. We're draining them. We're exhausting them. We're putting them in a position to feel like, or where we feel like that they're expected to do the things that they do. And we forget that they were the blessing that God promised us in order to get through what we're going through. Your reliance should always be on God. Be grateful for your village. Be honorable for your village, so that when God blesses you and pulls you up out by your bootstraps, when you are able to get once you have your strength, you're able to pour back into those that poured into you. But your reliance should always resort back to believing in Christ, seeking God, and having that way of knowing that this is my go-to. And within my village, God has already blessed someone with the talent or skill that I need. So, but you'd be surprised how many people in your village actually have that same skill and that same talent that how many people, multiple people can have the same skill and talent. So God is allowing them to trade in and out of your life so that you're not draining them, you're not overusing them, you're not taking advantage of them, and you're not making them feel unappreciated. So be careful where you place your reliance. It should always be in God. Rely on God to take care of you. Rely on Him to send the people in your life. But don't get so attached and so connected to the point that you think that's the sole reliance is that particular person. Well, God sent, I thank God that He sent me you, and then you're stuck because there are other people out there that He's also going to send. He's going to expand your business. God is always about expanding and elevating. So remember that whenever you're seeking God for things, seek God for them. Don't go and tear down your village because you keep knocking on the same door. So that was another strong, powerful thing that God gave me. And then finally, we started getting into from remember the promise. So as I'm continuing to read, I'm coming down to the very end. Uh, Hezekiah was told he was going to die, but then God added him 15 years because he was reminded of the promise from David. And so I went into my Bible and I looked down at the bottom, and it gave some context on what that meant. So God made a promise to David that he would always have a descendant that ruled forever. So at the time, according to what they believed that at the time Hezekiah did not have an heir. He did not have a son born. So the 15 years was needed. They said because at the time that he died, he did have a son at the age of 12. So the 15 years was needed in order to continue the promise that God made to David. So, in other words, there are some promises that God made to our ancestors, and because of that, He is blessing us. We are reaping the rewards of promises based on the faith and the foundation that those that came before us had laid. What does that mean? That means that what you're doing in your life, how your faith is with God, how you are seeking God, how you are worshiping God, could affect your generations to come. It can have an effect on your children's generations long after you. So you want to make sure that you are operating accordingly, because your blessing that God bless you with can go forever. That's what it said, a promise of forever. So remember the promises. Remember that God is a God that keeps His promises, both for the good and for the bad. So you want to make sure that things that you are doing, the foundations that you're laying, the things that you're leaving behind, understand that if God promised it to you, it's a possibility that He's also promising it to all the generations that come after you. That's why I say the bloodline is so important, because the blood that runs in you, that God has, the bloodline that you have come from, there's things that can come with it, but along the way things can alter and change the direction and the path based on our actions. If you feel like you come from a family that's cursed, that can be broken, but you have to go to God. You have to seek God. You have to operate and find through Him how to break those curses. You can come from a family of royalty, but that can also be broken because someone chose to go outside of what God had for them and what God asked for your family to do, that has caused you to lose right to that royalty. You can either continue on the blessings that God had, or you can put yourself off the path and redirect the entire family. So that's why I've been getting so far from Isaiah. I'm still reading it. Yes, I know it's been a month. I'm still reading it, but I'm getting so much more by slowing down and taking the time to actually not just read, but absorb what God is trying to tell me in these scriptures and in these chapters as I'm going on through my day to day. So that's what I have for you guys. I hope someone else is blessed I would love to see what you guys are getting, what you're receiving out of the book of Isaiah as you're reading through it, or if you've already read through it, and good for you, great for you. Let me know what you think, and y'all have a blessed, wonderful day.